I was selling one of my neighbor's homes, and we had been under contract with the buyer for about 6 weeks. And the day before closing, I got a call from the buyer's agent and said his buyer was not going to be able to close the next day. Well, as you can imagine, that news did not go over very well with my seller, especially since they had moved out a couple days earlier, so the house would be vacant on the day of closing. Well, they did get to keep the buyer's earnest money deposit, but they had additional expenses for storage and moving and utilities and things like that, and asked if they could sue the buyer. Well, in Georgia, the answer is unfortunately no. The Georgia contract says, I'm going to look at it here, the seller's sole remedy shall be to retain the earnest money as full liquidated damages. The seller waives any right to assert a claim for specific performance, which basically means the right to sue the buyer and force them to buy the home. Now, that's not a practical remedy anyway, because if you did that, you would tie the house up in court for a couple years trying to resolve it, and you need to sell the house and move on. So the bottom line is, even if you had hotel or utility or storage bills and that type of thing, you're not able to sue the buyer for those additional costs. So you want to make sure up front that you're getting enough earnest money deposit from the buyer to cover those things in case something like that happens and they back out. So leave a comment on your thoughts if you think a buyer or a seller should be able to sue a buyer for those expenses.